Guys, it's Tripl-L and today I'm here to bring you a celebratory video. One Piece in 2016, the One Piece manga, the 2016 wrap up, just pretty much going through the manga and just talking about it, talking about our journey through the year 2016. Guys, I sat down and I went through every chapter that came out in 2016, starting from 811 or 812 depending on if you follow the street date or the internet date, all the way to the most recent chapter 850. There's no telling if 851 is going to be coming out, but forgive me for that. Anyway, let's get into the video and let's talk about One Piece in 2016. Here's how we're going to break it down. I'm going to start off with my top 3 chapters for the year, then I'm going to talk about the best fight, then I'm going to talk about the saddest moment and the best moment, and then the best new characters that we got for this year. So let's just get right into the video. Anyway, the top 3 chapters for this year, here's what they are for me. Oh, and if you are an anime only, if you only watch the One Piece anime, please, oh please do not watch this video. This is not for you. It's going to spoil you. It's going to be hardcore spoilers. Go away, leave, get out of here. Okay, if you are still on the video, I assume you are a manga reader. So let's get into this. Chapter 846. This chapter was jam-packed. It featured the results of Luffy versus the Big Mom army. We got to see quite an interesting fight sequence. Luffy was out of his league versus all those devil fruits. We also saw in this chapter Sanji finding hope in Big Mom potentially sparing his allies if the wedding went off without a hitch. We got the introduction of Charlotte Smoothie, a pretty interesting power user, a pretty interesting character design. And we got to see Brook and Pedro about to strike, with Brook asking Pedro to be the bait. This was a chapter that marked the next phase in the arc, and you know, it was pretty exciting. It was always pretty exciting to see Luffy going up against a giant amount of people and ultimately seeing that he did not want to leave that spot. Very powerful chapter for me. But that was number 3. Number 2 was Chapter 844, Luffy versus Sanji. I'd be very remiss if I did not mention this chapter. Anytime we see friends fighting, it's a really sad affair, and the stances that Luffy always takes in these kind of conflicts is very interesting to watch. This time around, Luffy just took that beating, wanting to hear Sanji tell the truth and not just say these lies. And ultimately Luffy resolved to stay in that place till Sanji came back. Through that fight, Luffy lost a tooth, and I think that tooth is a symbol of the fact that damage has been done. And finally, the biggest chapter for me, my favorite chapter for the year that I honestly think might be the best chapter, was actually a chapter that came out very early in the year, chapter 816. This was the chapter where we finally found out that the samurai and the minks were not going to be enemies, but rather they had been deathly loyal to each other, to the point that the minks had actually been hiding Raizo the whole time that they were being tortured, and not a single soul gave him up. This chapter, I am putting it at the best because for me, I did not see that coming. That was honestly one of the biggest baits and switches that I've had for the year. It is definitely a chapter, just goes to show like the general unpredictability of One Piece, and it was a chapter that spoke to the bonds of loyalty and compassion between these two groups. We were in the place of the Straw Hats thinking that we had to hold the samurai back because otherwise we might be going into a giant conflict between them and the minks. It would have been cool to see Straw Hats versus the minks. There were plenty of hints being dropped about the effects of the full moon on the minks, but thankfully we didn't get that, and with Raizo's safety we were ushered in to, I guess, an arc that pretty much changed the course of where this story was going. So ultimately, that chapter 816 I think is the best chapter of the year because it was generally unpredictable and it ultimately spoke to a really great quality that the characters possessed. At the end of the day, even the Straw Hats were horrifically surprised at what went down. But that's my best chapter. What were your favorite chapters for this year? Does anyone really stand out to you? Were you maybe a Sanji diehard and you love seeing his general flashbacks? Or maybe you just like Big Mom? Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, time is short. Let's move on to the best fight. Best fight for this year, I have to say it's Sanji versus Judge. My reasons for it is because after going through about 40 plus chapters, I came to the conclusion that this fight was probably the best choreographed and the best paced. Other honorable mentions would have been, I guess, Zoe versus Jack, because that fight was just really fast and just pretty cool to watch, but more on that later. And that's pretty much it. There weren't that many fights this year in One Piece. The only other fight that was really going on that was worthy to talk about was the Luffy versus Cracker, but that one went on a bit too long, and although there was the novelty of a kind of new Gear 4th form, it ultimately was just that fight was placed in the really kind of slow part of the arc, so it kind of takes away from the fight itself. Other honorable mentions, Luffy versus the army, but ultimately Sanji versus Judge, this is where it was at. The choreography was great, and even if Sanji didn't win, it was still a spectacle to behold in this fight, and there are some layers of dramatic irony that were going on in that particular fight, so I really appreciate it. That's my pick for the best fight of the year, Sanji versus Judge. What do you guys have for your best pick? Next up, the saddest moment. Saddest moment is going to be Luffy versus Sanji. Now, it's a sad moment just because, you know, they're friends, and seeing them both go through this kind of pain, it gets to me. It really did get to me. Overall, though, there were a lot of sad moments in this year. This year of Sanji has been pretty much the year of misery for any Sanji fan. Sanji's general backstory, you know, yeah, there's a lot of sad moments, but what really matters to me is the here and now, and Luffy versus Sanji was the epitome of this. And ultimately, Luffy deciding that he wanted to stay in that one spot until Sanji came back is both admirable and very sad, especially when you consider that things didn't go the way Luffy planned. And that's unfortunate. But Luffy would still try to stay in that squad if he could have. So that's my pick for the saddest moment. What was your saddest moment in this year? Let me know down below. And next, the best moment in general, like the best feel-good moment, the best moment that just makes you really get riled up or really get just, yeah, epic hype feelings. For me, it was Zoe destroying Jack's fleet. The moment that Momo realized he could talk to this elephant and commanded it to just get rid of Jack. That was the best, because that's like no one expected the giant walking elephant to actually be able to attack anything. So that moment, you know, Jack had it coming. That moment was set up very well. We had gotten the whole thing with the voice. We had gotten the whole thing with Jack and his just general persistence. It managed like a cockroach. And finally seeing Zoe finally defend itself and kill the person that almost killed the minx. Almost kill the person that almost killed the minx. It was a worthwhile time. I really liked it. I was cheering. Anyway, that was my best moment for the year. It came from that arc. The current arc, the Whole Cake Island arc, it's having a lot of cool moments, but really the magnitude of Zoe, you know, it's a giant elephant. It's up there. And now the last segment before a highlight journey, the best new characters of this year. These are only characters that have been officially introduced this year, like characters that got a name box this year. Okay, keep that in mind. I count introduction as characters that officially got their name box this year. Okay, so let's get into it. The best new characters. Number 3, Tripl-L, Big Mom's 29th daughter. Now, man, she hasn't done anything in the story, and the reason I'm putting her on this list is because I want to talk about her. Like, I really like her design. I don't know what it is about it, but I'm really digging her design. It's probably my favorite design of the year. The only reason she's not higher is because like other people legitimately put in way more work than she did. But man, I like her. I want to see her more. I hope the Sun Pirates keep being a thing because I want to keep seeing Tripl-L. She's freaking hilarious. I love her. I want to think also that her and Jinbei, you know, like she's going to be the secret weapon on Jinbei's side when they're like dealing with Big Mom. Anyway, Tripl-L, man, I freaking love her design. I remember when I made the video in her introduction chapter, I was just raging around her. But man, awesome character design. Anyway, on to more serious ones. Number 2. Number 2 goes to Pudding. Of course, freaking Pudding. And this is why I was saying the whole thing about the introduction box. Because Pudding was revealed to us a long time ago, but this year was the year that we got her name, that we finally found out who she really was. And we really found out who she really was. So, Pudding, the reason she's number 2 is obviously because she's a driving force for this arc, and also because of the general reveal that happened recently and just her characterization all the way throughout. If one thing for her is that she was a very endearing character before the reveal. It was adorable to see her get flustered over Sanji. It was adorable to just see the way she acted and her mannerisms. I think Oda really nailed it when it came to the body language that Pudding showed us. I think her mannerisms were all very interesting, and she's a very expressive character when it comes to her body language. Like, if you go back through the chapters where she's featured, she's almost always very expressive. And so that was a very interesting thing to see that from that character. Like, she definitely stands out amongst the majority of characters that have been shown for this arc, and there's a lot. The Charlotte Big Mom family, it really has a lot of characters, and it was just character after character at that point. Anyway, Pudding. Pudding is an interesting character, to be sure, and because she's a driving force, and because she's not really an annoying driving force, because she's generally welcome, I feel pretty, I guess, secure or proud putting her in as the second best character of the year. Now, in terms of who's the best character, for me anyway, the best new character of the year for me was Vinsmoke Reiju. Now, you know, I am skipping over a lot of the other Vinsmokes. I don't care for them as much as I care for Reiju. Reiju to me is just, well, how do I say it? Like, her introduction chapter was her kissing Luffy and sucking the poison out of his body. Already introduced, and she's giving off this unique air of mystique. I remember when she first was introduced, people were theorizing whether or not she had the butterfly devil fruit because she looks kind of like a butterfly with her motif, and her poison, I guess, extracting abilities were very interesting. That was a character introduction done right, and it was the first glimpse that maybe Reiju wasn't all bad, or wasn't as bad as Vinsmoke, and that glimpse carried through because, as we find out throughout Sanji's flashback, Reiju's the one that allowed him to escape. So at the end of the day, Reiju's a pretty important character, and ultimately I am very endeared to that particular character. I think her design's really nicely done, and I just want to see the character more, and thankfully the character does seem to be getting a bit more focus in this arc, since we do know now that she is in the captivity of Pudding. She is getting the whole bad person speech just being, I guess, recited to her. It'll be interesting to see where we go from here. It's interesting that it's Reiju, the person who defended Sanji, that's hurt and in, I guess, danger's way or harm's way. It'll be very interesting to see where we go from here and how Reiju continues to help Sanji. At this point, I'm pretty sure Reiju has, I guess, signed herself up for a lot of trouble, because her thing with her character was like, she doesn't want to get caught up in trouble. She doesn't want to get beat up by her brothers. And now she's pretty much in a really dangerous situation, and it comes back to, it's involving Sanji. So overall, Reiju, the character, I'm very into her. I'm very hopeful for her potential progress in the future, and I do definitely want to see her more often in the future. I hope that she becomes some kind of recurring feature, like at the very least something on the level of Vivi, at the very best a member of the Straw Hat Fleet, or possibly a new crewmate, you know, like I would be totally okay with that. That'd be cool. Anyway, Reiju, my favorite character of the year when it comes to the new characters. Well peeps, that's pretty much it for the main segment of this video. Thank you very much for watching. But yeah, One Piece in 2016. We started off in Zou during a flashback, and we ended it off learning Pudding's true nature. And man, screw Pudding, that's all I'm gonna say on her. But you know, there's more to the character. We might be, I guess, in for something greater with Pudding, so who knows. Anyways, 2016, it gave us a lot of things. For the fans of Sanji, it might have made us a bit miserable, but you know, I think One Piece is the kind of series where losses are balanced out by wins or gains. So I do want to think that eventually we will get to see redemption or triumph for Sanji, and ideally that's how things will go. Anyway, One Piece gave us a lot of things, whether it was finding out that Jack was a fishman, finding out that Brook had connections to the Vinsmoke or was aware of the Vinsmoke family, whether it was, I don't know, the Straw Hats finally getting to Totland, whether it was, or heck, even finding out about the things that were going on in the world around the Straw Hats, like the revolutionaries getting attacked, or finding out that Marco was involved in a war with Blackbeard, the Payback War. A lot of cool little things came up for this year of One Piece, and you know, I hope 2017 is going to be a fun one. We know where we're kind of going in terms of arcs, I think we have Wano Kuni and the Reverie arc coming up. But yeah, guys, 2016. Let me know how you felt about this year of One Piece. Let me know what you loved about it. Let me know your favorite chapters. But yeah, guys, I think I'll end it there. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day. See you in 2017.